What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're going to start off by looking at a couple booster boxes on TCG Player that over the 48 hours prior to this video have kind of popped off, and I do want to explain a little bit what's going on there. I know there's a lot of new people entering the hobby, it seems on a daily basis now. When large creators make videos that go viral, that tends to bring more eyeballs to One Piece. And I think just in general, the organic growth of the game, it's just continuing. So those are all great signs. We'll start there. And then after that, we will have a discussion about some of the cards in One Piece, because I think we're at a point right now where people are going to have to start making tough decisions when it comes to their plans for investments, where they want to actually put their money, whether that's in sealed product or into the individual cards or graded cards, etc. But we'll start off with the sealed product. Romance Dawn, this is the first box that I want to bring up. I think a couple people pointed this out yesterday in the auction video, which thank you for the support, by the way. Crazy amount of love on that. But there were a couple people that commented that there were like 4 or 5 sales yesterday on TCG Player. And you can see here, it started off at a $2,900 sale, jumped up to almost $3,000. And then since then, basically every box that's sold is over $3,000 USD, close to 3.2. You had one here at 3.3. The most recent sale from today was at $2,750 USD. This apparently had a dent in it. I looked at the photos. I didn't really see a dent, so I don't think it was a huge problem. But I think that a mint box at this point, safe to say it's going in like the 3.2K USD range, which I don't think is going to get cheaper. I think as time goes on, these are going to continue to get rarer. We're going to continue seeing high net worth individuals pour their money into this hobby, whether they're buying cases of this product or just buying, loose boxes, whatever. They're going to put them away. They're not going to see the light of day. And people are really looking at One Piece now as an investment, similar to how people are also viewing Pokemon. And it's not just in the scarcest boxes. Even the white bottoms for Romance Dawn are running up in price. We saw yesterday's sales, I think it's high as $13.50 on eBay. I still think that that's probably a little bit higher than the average sale, but even on TCG Player, consistently $850, getting close to $900 now. I know when I look at LGSs in Canada, their online shops, I think the lowest at this point is like 1.2K Canadian. And I'm pretty sure last week it was like 1,000 Canadian. The week before that it was 900. The week before that it was 800. So continuously moving their prices up. And that's for like 2 stores, maybe 3 stores. It's not like there's a ton of them out there. So the people that do have the supply, at least here in Canada, they really can control how much they want for their boxes. But Romance Dawn is the set that I'm actually not the most excited about right now, at least to watch going forward. EBO1 is super interesting to me. This is at about $432 on TCG Player. But if you come in here and look at recent sales, yesterday, or 2 days ago actually, we had a box sell over $500, 505 USD. And then today, we had 2 boxes sell at $561.94. So almost a $600 sale on a loose box, and they bought multi-quantity. We've talked about this multiple times over the past couple months. There's just not a ton of EBO1 on the market. I think when we looked at like cases worldwide, which by the way, I am going to start tracking the case quantity on eBay. The first update in the spreadsheet will be this coming Saturday, so the 22nd of November, and we're going to do that probably once a month, I'd say. But there's not a ton out there, only a few cases on the open market. And loose boxes, same deal. There was probably like 7 or 8 below like a 20% leg up. So boxes that were in a sellable range, I'd say. Not a ton out there. It doesn't move the best, but still, it's a very scarce box. And for that reason alone, it is going to have value. And again, I'm going to repeat myself for like the 10th time this month. This is a prime example of a deflationary asset. A lot of the cards in this set were reprinted in PRBO2, which just came out a couple months ago, but the box price didn't crash, right? Because at a certain point, the box separates from the cards inside of it. It becomes a collectible in and of itself. And also, the box, the sealed product, was never tied to the cards inside of it. Obviously, if there are more valuable, desirable chase cards inside of a booster box, you're more than likely going to see that box be more expensive than other sets in the same era. But a box can become more expensive over time without the cards inside the set becoming more expensive, or even having the cards lose value. You could still see the box increase in price. And that's really the beauty a buying sealed product. But to move on, we have a couple more sealed boxes to look at here. EBO2, you guys know I am a big fan of this set as well. Up to around $240 on TCG Player. If you come in here and look, a lot of recent sales in the $235 to $240 range. If you want to zoom out and look at the 1-year chart, it's basically been straight up since release. These are all pre-release orders here, but since release, it crashed down to around $175, and it's just been going ever since. I do think a box like this probably going to hit $300 by the end of 2026. Even if we have major global issues in the markets, I think this is still going to be a very strong investment. And then finally, carrying on as well, OP13. You guys know, I think this is probably the best set Bandai has released so far. I did want to point out for anyone in Canada, HPW still has 54 boxes in stock for their Wave 2 pre-orders. They've moved their price up to $220, which I still think is the lowest in Canada, at least that I can find. But it's interesting how these have slowed down. It seems like everyone who's wanted to get OP13 has probably got their fill at this point. Those first few days of pre-orders going up at like $180, $200 Canadian, they just went instantly. Overnight, we saw like 15, 20, 30 cases moving from a couple of stores. So if you guys don't have product, 160-ish USD per box, I don't think it's a terrible price still, especially if you are in this for the long term. Maybe Wave 2, prices come down on carrying on as well. I'm not going to say that that's a guarantee. It's possible, but I would much rather go with my plan to just buy what I want now and then dollar cost average if and when a reprint comes. Now, that's really all I wanted to talk about for the booster boxes. Actually, there is one more, OP11, but before we get into OP11, I did want to just jump in here and say, first of all, thank you for the support on yesterday's video. We reached 200 likes, and I'll say this, if we get to 200 likes on this video, I'll give away free lifetime access to the spreadsheet to one person. So there you guys go. If you want to win that, leave a like down below. And then if we get to 200 likes, we'll get people to leave a comment on tomorrow's video, and then we'll pick one the next day. And then also, if you guys are interested, there is a link here to the market spreadsheet if you don't want to wait. And then also, for some of you guys looking to take One Piece investing, Pokemon investing more seriously, I do have consult calls down below if you guys want to check them out. If you're just getting started in TCG investing and you need help going through the entire process, I can walk you through it. Now, moving on to OP11, this is going to kind of transition into the conversation on cards as well. We're up to around $150 again on TCG Player. And if you come in here and look at recent sales, you're actually close to like $160 today based on the past 3 or 4 listings. You have one here actually in the 165, 166 range. So I think it probably averages out a little over 160. I do think you can find this box a little bit cheaper at LGS's on eBay, but we're going in the right direction, especially after the reprint. And someone left a comment in yesterday's video when we were talking about the gold Luffy SP, and they said it didn't really make sense to them why the silver SP is so much cheaper considering the pull rates are basically the same. And I kind of agree with that. At least in my opinion, I'd say the gold card is way better. I think it just has a little bit more clarity, especially when you see it in person compared to the silver card. But I think too, in general, that people are just conditioned to think that gold is more valuable than silver. And the pull rates are fairly similar. If you guys don't believe that, I'm looking at the PSA pop report here. And again, this isn't concrete evidence of the pull rates being the same, but considering the pop reports on these two are fairly similar, you can see down here, the gold Luffy, you have 396 PSA 10s currently, 446 total graded cards. The silver Luffy, 344 silvers, and then you have 391 total population. So I think just based on those numbers, it's safe to say that these SPs are fairly similar pull rates. And for people coming into the hobby, it is going to be difficult for them to decide where to put their money. I still always recommend sealed product out the gate, and especially in a time right now where a lot of the SPs, alternate art cards, treasure rares, whatever in One Piece have seen 100, 200% growth since the summer. It definitely makes them less attractive options, but over the past day or two, I have been thinking a little bit more just about SPs in general. I think that there's a lot of really interesting alternate arts, which aren't SPs. They're a lot easier to pull. I do think that the artworks on a ton of alternate art cards are great, but I just think there's probably going to be maybe too many out there in the future for them to be worth any significant amount of money. I mean, if cards are like $5 to $10 and they have great artworks, sure, they could probably go to 30, 40 in some cases, but I think the SPs still have long-term potential. You're getting 2 of these in a case, and then also the treasure rares as well. These are about 1 in a case. I do want to just point out this Luffy first before we talk about the SPs a little bit. This is down to around $25. This is in OP13. I'm not saying to go out and buy 100 of these right now at $25, but I would keep an eye on this. If it gets close to like $20, obviously if it dips below that, I wouldn't be surprised if people start buying this card up. I mean, if you look at the other Luffy Treasure Rare, this is from Two Legends. It's sitting around $87 currently on TCG Player. If you come in here and look, recent sales, we're still in that 87 to 90 range on this card. I would say that this Luffy artwork is a little bit better than the OP13 one, but still, it's a Luffy, it's a treasure rare, and it's currently $27 USD compared to this one, which is 87. So I think something like this, with more OP13 being opened over the next month or two, if it gets down to around $20, that might be a decent play. And then when I look at a lot of the SPs currently, I know that there's probably not a ton of value in some of these, at least in the short term. Long term, I still think the top SPs, there's probably still room to grow, especially if the hobby continues to thrive. But even in the short term, some of these SPs, like the Charlotte Pudding, $30 USD, 31 bucks. Back in like early September, late August, it was a $25 USD card. The Kid manga, this is from OP07. This actually has gone up over the past couple months, but this was down to around $25 USD. We're now sitting around 40 bucks. The Silver's Rayleigh, this is from OP11. I actually pulled this card. This is like $40. I think about a week ago, maybe a couple weeks ago, this was down in the low 30s, like $32, which is just incredibly low for an SP. If we actually come in here and look, I want to show you guys, just to illustrate my point. If you go back here to some of the very cheap SP cards, probably going to have to go to the 4th page, maybe potentially the 5th. Yeah, if you come down here and look, you can see the Silver's Rayleigh SP, 38 bucks, but when you get to the $30-ish range, there's not a ton of popular characters. Again, that's why I think this Pudding may be a little bit undervalued. But after that, what do you really have down here? You have a Lim SP at $30, a Charlotte Flampe at 28, Queen at 27.28, Yasop as well. You go to the next page, Okiku, kind of popular during the Wano arc. Isho in here at $25, Borsellino. Like, it's just not a ton of interesting characters in like the $20, $30 range. So when I look at something like Rayleigh, I know not the most popular character in One Piece, but definitely a more influential person than anyone else we just listed. And the card, sub $40. Even the Sanji from Royal Blood at like $50 currently. This is a pretty solid artwork. I think in the future, this could be like a $75, $100 card. Really would not surprise me. The Ace from OP12. This is getting a little bit pricier, $80-ish. This, I think, is a great SP. I love the colors on this. Same with the Zorojuro. This is, what, $85? I know it might be difficult right now to justify buying some of these, especially at their current prices, but I think if you try to build a counter argument to my position about just investing in sealed product, a lot of people would probably say that we'll be surprised at just how fast some of those SPs dry up, especially in PSA 10s or BGS 10s, if the popularity of One Piece doubled or tripled, which I think is entirely possible when we look at this hobby. But that's all I really wanted to talk about in this video. You guys let me know in the comment section down below what you think. And again, this is not me saying you should go out and spend a ton of money on SPs. If you've watched this channel long enough, you know I'm just a huge proponent of buying the sealed product, waiting on it for a few years, letting the deflationary assets do their thing, and then profiting in the long run, right? That's really how I view TCG investing. I don't think I'm smart enough to just look at a ton of SPs and pick the winners. But I do know there are a lot of you guys out there interested in singles and graded cards, so I am trying to do a better job of incorporating it into the daily videos. If you guys got some value out of this content, I'd really appreciate if you leave a like, subscribe to the channel. It genuinely does help out a ton. And again, if we get 200 likes on this video, we will give away a lifetime access to the market spreadsheet. With all that said, thank you guys so much for watching the video. Stay safe wherever you guys are in the world, and I'll catch you in the next one.